watching Sunday Morning Matters on KC24, your local election headquarters.
So is this a history textbook or is it a campaign billboard for Gavin Newsom? That is the debate this week over a proposed piece of curriculum for first graders where gubernatorial candidate Gavin Newsom is referred to as a champion for people's rights. Now, the label comes in a discussion about gay rights and Newsom's early support of gay marriage while mayor of San Francisco. It has Republicans and Democrats taking sides.
This sounds like the Democrats are putting the thumb on the scales of justice to have more people vote for Gavin Newsom.
Well, let's be clear, first graders aren't voting, so I don't see that has any impact in that respect. And, you know, this is part of the story, and, you know, Gavin Newsom is a key part of that story.
Now, the textbooks are not final. Parents will have a chance to review the material and sound off about it before it is published. But let's talk about this with our panel here this morning. Democratic Party leader Humberto Gomez Jr., as well as Conservative Talk Radio host Philip Teresi, also with us. Gentlemen, what do we think here? I mean, here's the thing, what I took away. I'm so used to looking at a history textbook and seeing kind of like ancient history, you know? Yeah. And so to see the face of the guy who's running for governor and who, if he wins, is probably certainly going to run for president at some point, at least a lot of people think. It's interesting. I was like, oh man, history.
What's interesting to me is, you know, look, teaching kids about the history of civil rights is completely essential. I'm not sure that first grade is the place to jump in quite that deep. I'm curious why they chose Gavin Newsom and not Edith Windsor.
And I don't know if they did not, for example. I don't know who's included and who's not.
But if you're going to go from Gavin Newsom being a hero for the people, does that mean second graders get to learn about the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence?
I mean, it's actually two different debates that we could have. It's a debate of, is first grade too early to start talking to kids about gay marriage and rights and where that came from? And the other one, of course, is this thing with Gavin Newsom, where a lot of Republicans are frustrated about this. But Humberto, what do you think about it? Is there anything wrong about it?
I don't think anything's wrong with it. It's a test pilot program.
Sure.
I mean, it gets to get reviewed by the public as long as it's transparent within I think it's in Elk Grove where they're doing it, and as long as it follows, you know, the particular guidelines that were passed in 2012. So to me, as long as it's factual, I mean, whether we can debate whether, is it a perfect time to teach first grade kids this? Is it a perfect time to teach second graders this? But, you know, Gavin was part of that history. I mean, he was part of that history. I mean, it's factual. It's not somebody else's, you know, name. And
I think that you'd be saying exactly the opposite if they had talked about Donald Trump's work on the job market. I think that right now, it's too soon to hold a candidate for a major political office up as the vanguard of anything.
But is that not giving him enough credit, though, for being one of the first major public elected officials to stand forward publicly and say, no, I believe in gay marriage and I think it should be legal?
Right. Oh, no, I think it's wonderful that Gavin did that. I think it was politically shrewd of him to do that, and I think he believed in it sincerely as well. But I just don't see this as being the right time for the kids, and I think that the way that it's phrased, you could definitely dial it a little bit back from the campaign materials and still have a factual statement about Gavin Newsom being in support of civil rights.
Yeah. And to me, it's a debate that we can have. I mean, there's a lot of times that people have told me, you know what, hey, you know what, bringing your kids to Pride Parade or things like that, you know what, you should avoid it till they're teenagers, or you should avoid it till whatever time it is. So to me, you know, having a test pilot program, I think as long as the community is involved in it, as long as it's not dictated that, you know what, this is what's going to be, like there has been some issues, like when they took away Chicano history in Texas. Okay, that wasn't decided by the public, that was decided by a particular board. And to me, as long as it's factual, and Gavin was important, it's when he was mayor. It's not like, you know, he did it right now. Yeah. If he did it last year, then of course I would have, probably be for political expediency.
It is election season, and if you put Gavin Newsom anywhere in any context, especially something like that, then it's going to fire up.
It is. And first graders, like Mike said, they don't vote.
Not yet, Humberto. Not yet. All right, so hey, let me ask you guys. Let's talk marijuana. So there's obviously very few places in the Central Valley where you can buy recreational marijuana. Very, very, very few places. And now there is this California proposal, this statewide law that would allow recreational marijuana deliveries everywhere in the state, regardless of the local ordinances and the local laws. And this has people kind of, especially a lot of local police chiefs and stuff like that, they're kind of fired up about it, Philip.
They are, and they should be. We voted on and passed a law that said that
legalized recreational marijuana.
Legalized, except that local municipalities would be able to determine whether or not the product would be for sale inside their jurisdiction. This is just a direct attack on that. Personally, I think that it's a mistake for the government to be regulating private behavior in the first place. So my feelings about, for instance, the city of Fresno saying no recreational weed, period, run directly against my feelings about going out and trying to subvert the will of the voters through this.
Umberto, what are you thinking about this?
To me, it's just something that just comes up, but I just feel that, you know, for me, for medicinal purposes, I think marijuana has been shown, even with clinical trials, it has been efficacious. It has shown especially with the opioid crisis that we have in the particular communities that we have in particularly my community, rural community in Parlier. You know, we have a tremendous amount of opioid crisis going on, in particular all through the rural communities. So to me, if some dispensaries are not available, then guess what? And if a doctor writes a prescription, then fine. As far as recreation, I don't know. I kind of talk to my law enforcement friends, and that's a different feeling between them. So, you know, I would just definitely, you know, right now I would just say I'd probably side with them.
What's amazing to me is that I did not think about this as being a real possibility. Here we are in this age in which you don't go to stores to buy anything anymore. You order it online and it comes to you. Of course there was going to be people who were doing this with marijuana. Of course.
Absolutely.
And so I hadn't thought about that. And then who gets the revenue then? Because really a lot of part of this.
Well, and then there's that.
Does the money, the tax
well, you know
money
who's going to
local?
get the revenue is Uber Reefer.
Is that app even available on iPhones yet?
It will be.
Just Android at this point?
So yeah, I mean, as far as it being taxed and everything like that, that's going to be another fight. It definitely is, because, you know, we've shown that, like in Oregon or in Colorado, how much money has the budget, you know, increase in terms of coffers.
As soon as a local municipality starts setting down the laws on one angle of marijuana, there's another angle, there's another side of the coin that they never even knew existed that they then have to face. Guys, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate it, gentlemen. We're